Welcome back, listeners, to the Unpunishables podcast.
Yeah.
This is episode 4, The Awakening.
If you missed episodes 1 to 3, go listen right now. Just to catch up a little, we will do a quick recap of episode 3.
In the last episode, we talked about the justice system and how Clifford Olsen managed to slip through the cracks. We also had our best interview yet.
Our interview with the great L. Woods, a criminal defense lawyer from Harvard University who has defied the norms and inspired many women with her story and countless cases solved. Her most famous one was when she, only a first-year law student, solved a case using her knowledge of women's cosmetics and fashion.
This case blew up in fame, then causing everyone to see blonde as powerful and not just quote-unquote dumb blonde.
Yes. Now we're going to be starting with episode 4, The Awakening.
Alright, so just imagine, yourself, even if you're not, imagine yourself as a young tween girl. You know what I mean? You're little, being a girl, having long hair, whatever.
I mean, I remember when I was that age, I'd always be outside playing with my friends in the park, playing on the playground, all that. Yeah. What about you?
No, I was definitely into lots of playground games.
Yes.
And outside.
Like kick the can.
Never played that.
You never play kick the can?
I played more grounders.
Manhunt.
Manhunt. Viewers or listeners, have you guys played Manhunt?
You have to have played Manhunt, or else you did not have a childhood.
Exactly.
Well, that wasn't the case for Christine Muller. This one horrifying day. That one horrifying day was when Clifford Olsen got his first victim.
Pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down.
In November 1980, the top song was Lady by Kenny Rogers. I don't really know that song.
But Terry Fox finished his run during that time. His long run.
And Ronald Reagan was elected president of the United States.
Exactly. And I also think maybe like November 17th, I'm pretty sure, day after Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Doug Williams threw for 486 yards. That's crazy.
That's a lot.
As a quarterback, that's crazy.
Okay, and here is that most famous song at the moment.
You have gone and made me such a fool, and I'm so lost in your love. And whoa, we belong together. Won't you believe in my soul?
I can literally feel that we're in mid-November of 1980.
I know.
And it really sets the scene.
Right.
Feels like it.
So, in mid-November, it was actually precisely November 17th, when Christine Ann Weller, a 12-year-old, described as blue-eyed, happy-go-lucky tomboy that spent most of her time outside, like us when we were, 12-ish, as we mentioned. And it was the day of the murder that really changed her life forever.
I mean, of course her life's going to change. She doesn't have a life on the day of a murder.
Yeah, but it was a little bit of a different day.
True.
You don't say.
Well, the day of her murder, or as you said, the day her life changed, of course. She was, biking back home on her 10-speed bike, making her way home to the Bonzana Motel in the sprawling, rainy hinterlands of Surrey, BC.
She liked to go to shops, specifically at the Surrey Place Mall. A new section of the mall had opened, and she was meeting a friend after school on a rainy Monday morning.
Wow, that's such a fun thing to do,
Meeting a friend?
Yes, on a rainy day, I feel like always the best thing to do would be go into the shops, check out what's new, everything. And she spent actually a couple hours chatting with friends and wandering around the mall.
As someone her age would do.
Yes. But by 5 p.m., she was late for supper. Oh, yeah, she was late for supper, so she borrowed her friend's bicycle to quickly make the 3-minute downhill ride. Only 3 minutes from her friend's house to this motel that she was staying at. And she lived there with her parents.
Her parents assumed that she was staying at her friend's house because she was a bit late. So they probably didn't think much of it. You know, it was the 80s, they didn't have like cell phone, like personal cell phone, just call and text or anything. So, you know, they probably thought she was at a friend's house, chilling, probably had dinner there, you know, something like that.
And yeah, she was there for like her parents thought like she was there for a couple days, but then after a week they filed a missing persons report, and lots of the neighbors and her family thought she just ran away.
That's a little bit weird. Why would you think your 12-year-old daughter would just run away? And also, why did it take them so long to file a missing persons report? Did they not think to like call or visit the family to check if their daughter's okay after a week? A week gone?
I guess it's also different times, right?
True.
Because now we're thinking about this in 2025. Obviously, if someone has gone maybe even past like the time that they were supposed to set out to go back
Like a
home,
curfew, yeah.
exactly, you would be worried. But these were the 80s, so I guess people were perhaps more like lenient.
And I mean, as we say, like the 80s were very like bad. Like a lot of people were murdered, but this is just
it was the deadliest
decade. But this maybe it's just the start of the 80s, so no one really knew about all these kidnappings and everything. You know what I mean?
So they weren't well equipped and prepared in case anything did happen.
So a big search was sent out, and when the police found the bicycle behind the animal hospital on King George Highway, just a few blocks away from like her motel she was staying at, they knew something was wrong, because you wouldn't just leave a bike there.
No.
It's really terrible just thinking as a family, all you know so far is just they have a bike and they don't know where your daughter is.
And it's also especially terrible because it was found on Christmas Day. A man walking his dog along the dike found her ravaged body at the back of a dump near the Fraser River in Richmond.
Wow. On Christmas
Awful.
Day. Like the best season of the year. She was probably after school.
The best day of the year.
Yeah. She was probably right after school. It was winter break. She was probably biking home to go, or biking to the mall to go see her friends and hang out.
That means her body was found a month later, pretty much.
Wow.
Because she went missing on somewhere mid-November.
The poor family for a month not knowing where your daughter is.
I
Yeah.
think we found it was a bike.
Sadly, Christine had multiple stab wounds to the chest and abdomen and had been strangled with a belt. Wow.
That's crazy. And, well, Clifford Olson later, he was not found for this murder. And it became an unsolved murder for many months and years.
Wow. I bet they just left it when they found her body. They're like, we don't know who did this. We just found her in a ditch, especially because they didn't have fingerprint technology yet. None of that was invented yet. So they really had no way of identifying using DNA to find Clifford Olson. You know what I mean? Because if they had that, they would have been able to check, oh, they have the belt, oh, whose DNA is on this? But they didn't have that technology yet.
Exactly. So there was really no assurance in the justice system.
I wonder if this case could have led them to then invent the DNA findings. But
Perhaps.
I mean, it's probably a bunch of cases really.
yeah, definitely.
A bunch. Someone like goes missing or dies like every day, and then they find something new every day.
Also speaking about DNA and forensic science like that, we have a blog post on our website, and you can check it out for more details about that and how it has evolved over time.
wow.
Yep, after this episode, if you just want to hop on, you are welcome to do so. It is very easily accessible.
Unpunishables.
WordPress.com.
Okay. Now, sadly, we have to now mention victim number 2, who is Colleen Marion Dagnalt. So she is a 13-year-old girl, so going on with the 12-year-old, 13, like the early teens.
Seeing a pattern.
Yes. She was 5 feet tall, brown, long hair, a very shy and introverted girl, but known for being very happy.
Right. She told her granny that she would be home at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, returning from a friend's house after spending the night.
Once again, spending the night with a friend, you assume she's still there probably. It actually, she was, on that day, she was dressed in it was actually a very fine spring day, it was spring. She wore a colourful red and white jacket, blue jeans, and white running shoes. After her friend's house, she would take 2 buses to take her home along the old Yale Road in Surrey. So clearly it's in Surrey, both cases are in Surrey. Clearly Clifford Olson was around there at that time, you know?
Yeah, and around 1 o'clock, while waiting at the bus stop nearby North Delta, a car pulled up. Clifford Olson called her from the car window, catching her attention.
3 days later, Colleen was reported missing. The Mounties treated her case as a runaway. With about 300 missing persons reports filed in the Vancouver area every month.
Every month?
Colleen was just another statistic.
Wow.
Just another one of those missing cases where they really didn't know where to start, you know?
Clearly it's a sign of the deadly 80s. Because 300 missing people a month, I don't know what the statistic is to this day. Maybe I could research that right now, but we'll see.
It wasn't until September 17th that the skull and skeletal remains of Colleen were found in an isolated Surrey forest, east of 144th Street near 26th Avenue, not far from the American border.
Years later, Colleen's sister, Corrine, remembers her as always doing her homework and getting good grades. Just 3 days before Colleen's birthday, Corrine was called to identify her clothes. There was only half a bra, but I recognized the red Adidas t-shirt that she borrowed from me, says Corrine. Only 5 days after Colleen's disappearance, a 16-year-old boy went missing.
Wow. I actually just checked the statistic on how many people go missing per year, and it says that in 2022, 4,847 people were reported missing. But that's just people, this isn't children. So I'm sure there's a bunch of more adults going missing. And it says British Columbia has more missing reports than the rest of Canada. Like, combined. So clearly, Vancouver or British Columbia has a big issue. I wonder what that is. Maybe it's like I feel like we have lots of forestry.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I feel like the forestry, I feel like gives these guys, the sense that, oh, I could do this and then easily hide the body somewhere in the forest. Because BC is, it's pretty, green, you know? There's a lot of spots you can find.
I feel like it's also because we're so close to America and
American
so influenced by them at the time,
Definitely.
especially being on the West Coast.
Yeah.
It's perhaps more of a security measure. People aren't paying enough attention to actual security things that they need in their daily lives, and they just live freely without the idea or real concern in the back of their mind about someone actually getting killed.
Yes.
And getting back to it, in 2020, it was in BC, there was 12,400 missing person cases in 2020, and in Canada, in the entire country, there's 30,000. So we have 30% of the missing person cases right in BC.
That's honestly. I also think one other reason is BC is like the most expensive city or like province in Canada.
You gotta take it as like BC is pretty big too.
BC is massive, yes.
We're in Vancouver, so we mostly think about Vancouver. But when
Yeah.
you look into like the whole province map, everything, BC is huge.
Yeah, but I feel like all the other provinces are pretty similar in size.
Yeah. But I feel the other provinces, they don't have much greenery. You know, people out here, I feel like some people in BC like grew up in remote areas where like they just grew up all messed up. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, that is why they call it beautiful British Columbia, but also Ontario is a big spot, especially Toronto.
Yes.
Being,
Toronto has lots of
hot
crime,
spot, yeah.
lots of crime.
yeah, and Quebec as well is also a big province. But yeah, just thinking about those statistics and actually being able to reflect on them instead of just them being another number is what we do here on this podcast.
Yes.
And we hope that you guys are not taking this any heavier than we are. It's not a light topic to talk about, but we have to shed light on it so that you guys are safe listening to us and also are better equipped in real life scenarios.
If you're getting mad at the police, like, because they're considering all these cases of, like, children going missing, like, it's not really their fault, because I have a statistic right here in 2024 that 88% of all missing person cases are, in fact, runaways. So, like, if they can't, like, get a case of someone actually being, like, kidnapped or, like, murdered, they would probably, like, obviously that they'll probably just consider it a runaway.
They have to be thorough though.
Yeah, true.
Right? Because not every case is a runaway.
Yeah.
True.
And even if they take it as every case is a runaway, then there are those people who actually got missing.
It's like this case. They considered her just a runaway for a really long time because there were so many people who had run away.
So in fact it is the justice system's fault, in my opinion.
I think so too. I mean, I feel like if they were more considerate of thinking, wait a second, maybe we should take a step back and really understand the situation, talk with the family, see what's wrong, see if this is like normal behavior, because I feel like children don't just run away,
Yeah.
especially at young ages.
Especially, and children don't deserve that
Yes.
at all. They did
No.
nothing to deserve that.
No.
And if a police is just going to overlook their case, then that is something that the police
Definitely.
perhaps they need to be.
I hope that they had learned from the situation and really understood, wait, in Vancouver we have a lot of people going missing. Maybe it's not just, I don't know, they don't like home. You know what I mean?
I also think it's rare for Canada to have one of these major slip-ups in the justice system, being such a well-suited first world country that has lots of privileges and stable economy and whatnot. And America, especially with crime and whatnot, is definitely worse. To hear this from Canada is honestly saddening. Having grown up here in Canada myself.
This next segment of our podcast is an interview we had with a lovely lady named Ruth DeVille Pratt. She grew up in Coquitlam, pretty much right next to Cliff Olson grew up,
Yes.
where he lived.
She is right now a teacher at University Hill Secondary School, and she, in our interview, reflects on her emotions having grown up in such a terrible time when everyone's going missing, all of her friends are going missing. Yes. And it really explaining what it was like to live in these deadly 80s, especially with this man who just was known for killing, raping, getting rid of all these children in the area. Okay, here we will now be sending you to the interview with Ruth Delville Pratt.
When did you first find out about Clifford Olson?
I found out about him maybe when I was 9 or 10 years old. I didn't know his name. None of us knew who he was, but we knew that there was someone in our community luring young people, and people were just disappearing, and then some were found dead. So we knew there was someone around, but we didn't really know about him per se.
what actions did you take to avoid him and everything? Like, what would you do?
At that time, maybe I was, as I said, like 9, 10, 11, and I have two younger sisters who are each, like, one's 2 years younger and one is 4 years younger, and I started to make sure that the three of us always were walking together. We walked to school and home from school, so I would pick up my one sister first, and then we'd go to the kindergarten room and pick up my other sister. And I just felt really strongly that I needed to protect them, and that the best way to do that would just be to always be together, not let them be by themselves. And the other thing was that with my youngest sister, we used to practice what she would do if someone in a car, or especially a car, or just someone came up to her and asked her to get in the car or something like that, and I would pretend to be the perpetrator, and then she would just say no and run and, like, start yelling for help.
Do you ever remember hearing of anyone, like, you knew who had been approached by him or anything?
Yes, there was a girl at my school who was older than me who later said that she had been approached by him. And then there was also someone else at my school who had a friend who was actually taken by Clifford Olson.
Really? Oh, that's crazy.
Again, these were kids a little bit older. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he took kids that were maybe, like, in their early teens. I'm not sure how old the youngest one was. I know that he would lure them by saying, "Oh, I'm going to give you a job doing X and Y, and I'll pay you, $10 an hour," or something like that. And that's how the kids would be drawn into, getting into his car. Yeah, he was always offering a job. I think that was his ruse.
As of, like, in this day, do you think that you have, like, a passion for, like, figuring out things like that? Like, learning about him?
I do, and I especially like, I like when someone like that is caught and called to justice. And I guess I am passionate about feeling that way. I'm not a lawyer, but if I were a lawyer or a police officer, I would like to work in the areas of these, child killers or serial killers or something like that. Yeah. The psychopathy scale. Yeah.
Like, could you, like, elaborate on that?
Sure. So I don't know who wrote this, but there's a psychopathy scale in which there are a number of characteristics and questions to determine if a person is a psychopath or not. And like someone who doesn't have empathy, someone who knows right from wrong but just doesn't care what he or she does. And this psychopathy level is out of 40. And the person who I know for sure had 40 out of 40 was Ted Bundy, the serial killer. But the second person, the person with the most points that I heard about on another podcast, was Clifford Olson with 39 points out of 40. And I'll also just mention what I also learned about him is he was very, very, very intelligent. He wasn't, sometimes there's a bias with serial killers, but he was very clever, a very clever, manipulative person.
And you said that, like, I've heard that you guys, like, lived close to him?
We did. We lived in Coquitlam by what's now there's a swimming pool and skating rink and that area, and then he lived one street over but further away. He didn't live in the same block kind of as us, but he lived further I suppose to the west of where we lived. It was certainly close enough to have had him drive around in that area wouldn't have been unusual.
And considering you guys lived so close, would you guys like have like a specific time you'd like be in your house by, and you'd like?
I don't get the sense that my parents were really worried about him. I don't remember them ever speaking to me. I would say that I was really diligent in making sure that we were at least home all together after school. Yeah.
And how long would you take these how long did this last?
It was a few years. I think as soon as I heard that there was someone doing that, I started taking those precautions until he was caught. It was a little while. I don't know how long he was active. I just remember being really scared, and that I had nightmares about him or about this person, and it definitely affected my life.
But is there anything else you'd like to say about it?
Just that, even though I don't want to believe this, I do believe that evil exists, and that we need to, protect our young people and equip them, to not talk to strangers or certainly not to get into a stranger's car.
Whoa, that was a powerful interview. It really shows what it's like to grow up next to a serial killer. That's crazy.
Yeah, all the things you gotta be scared of, watch out for.
Definitely, especially having siblings, like me myself, having a sister, and I'm sure all of us have siblings, having to be able to protect them from this evil demon.
And as I'm an older sister, and it bears a lot of responsibility on me if I didn't know where my brother was at all times, and if I didn't know he was safe. So I think that interview with Ruth really put into perspective how truly terrifying it was to live with such a monster.
And how it can scar you for life.
Exactly.
You gotta think about it, because there's other people just like Cliff Wilson during that time doing the same thing. Right? So it's not just one person, it's probably multiple.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that have mental issues like that.
Definitely.
But honestly, you kind of just have to think about there could be other Clifford Olsons in the world right now. We just haven't caught them. Other people like Clifford Olson.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people that we actually don't even know. When you look at someone, you can't tell if they're a rapist or a murderer, Because everyone looks normal.
Especially someone like Clifford Olson, who has such a
charming
charm,
right?
Which we talked about in our first episode, how charming he is.
And also what we will go a little bit more into
Actually, I have a story, and you don't actually know who's a murderer or not. My grandmother, she actually dated a person who murdered his business partner in a fire.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Which is she dated him for a while, and then later she found out, he went to jail and everything. She dated him for 3 months, and you don't notice that person could have killed someone. You never think of that.
Mostly a lot of family members too, some pretty messed up things. He was dating this girl, and then they broke up, and then he killed that girl right after.
Wow.
Just thinking about this is really messed up.
Definitely.
Because she broke up with him.
But I mean, I guess love can cause a lot of anger.
Yeah. He's confused.
Yeah, it's a powerful emotion, for sure. And I also think it has to do a lot with good first impressions. If you are obviously murderers don't want to be known as murderers, they're going to put on the best first impression they can. They're going to try to mask their true identity.
They're smart. They're not stupid.
Exactly. That's how they're able to get away with so many crimes that they pursue, because they have a tactic in their brain, and it works time and time again, And if that system doesn't fail, then that's why we should change it.
Exactly.
Well, in the next episode, we will be talking about his third and fourth victims, and we will also be bringing in one of the siblings of the victims and showing how painful it was for their family, elaborating on the terror that led Clifford Olson to receive his name, the Beast of BC.
Thank you for listening to episode 4, The Awakening. If you want to stay updated on future episodes, please make sure to subscribe and feel free to leave us a review and check out our website, unpunishables.wordpress.ca.
And we'll see y'all on the next one.